Hello, it's Mike Rasmussen, CPA Straight Talk for Small Business on a Wednesday. And what day do we got today? Today is September 9th. So, yesterday we talked about anything there was a impacting you. Hopefully there's a vote tomorrow. But I'll move on to a very specific issue about working in multiple states. But just a brief update. There was a bill that was presented by Mitch McConnell in the Senate, and it is supposed to be voted on in the Senate tomorrow. So I don't have an update for you. So any of the there are different, obviously it was very, very trimmed down, but there was a bill proposed by the Senate. It should be voted on tomorrow. So then what happens is then it would then go to the House. But let's just, of everything we saw yesterday, so there is a bill, but I'm not going to wait on that one, or we're going to have to wait on that one, and that'll be tomorrow, which is Thursday, in theory. So let me go to, what if you're you work for a employer at a small business, or you're your own small business, and you're resident in, I'll take for myself, Arkansas, okay? And in Arkansas, if I work outside of the state for any number of days, I might have to allocate some of the income that I earned in both states. Okay? So even if you're an employer that you have traveling salespeople that work in different states, although they're domiciled, or you perform businesses in another state, that is becoming a bigger issue right now in what state reports that income, and do you have to split it with the other state? So for example, right here I'm going to walk you through one of the articles that came out. Was just a real quick article, and again, I'm only showing you this just because I just happened to see it when I see articles I'm going to do. But on this one right here, it talks about if you've been hunkering down in a different state due to COVID-19, your tax is about to get a little bit more complex. The longer you stay away from your home base, particularly as we approach 6 months of remote work. And 6 months, 180 days is a magic number for many states, okay? So as we approach the 6 month of remote work for many people, the greater the chances you might have a tax obligation. Where most people have temporarily relocated to another state, working elsewhere. In the early days, we thought maybe it was all going to be done by then. So right now, here it is. New York and California are prime examples where they will try to be aggressive about this to protect the income they're used to getting. Okay? And here it is. Indeed, as many as 1 in 5 American adults have either gone to a new location due to the pandemic, or know someone who has basically done this. So people who work in one state but reside in another can wind up facing a tax liability. States have different ways, and I'll give you an example. There is a reciprocity agreements. For instance, there can be reciprocity agreements between 2 or more locales, meaning states, as is the case for New Jersey and Pennsylvania, to prevent income from being taxed twice. So remote work throws in another element for some workers. 7 states use a convenience of the employer, which is Arkansas, and imposing a tax on employees based on their employer's location, according to the Tax Foundation. So this convenience of the employer, teleworking, here it is right here. Employees face double tax due to aggressive convenience rule policies in 7 states. So real quick, person lives in one state, lives in another, they may have tax liability in both states. There is normally a credit to eliminate the double taxation of that income. 7 states, however, this is what I wanted to bring to your attention. However, tax people where their office is even if they do not actually work in the state, and these individuals may be denied their home state's credit for taxes paid to another state, exposing them to double taxation. I'm one, Arkansas. And so what that would mean is I was out of state, which I was early in the pandemic, working in state of Arizona, And although my home office is here in Arkansas, this basically would mean that if I was there a certain period of time, I have to allocate income to the state of Arizona, even though my office is in Arkansas. Okay, so there is this convenience of employer. This is one that you should talk to your advisor about and see if if this applies to you at all. And let's see, there is talk, and I'll bring that to you if I find it out. By renewed bipartisan interest in a federal remedy that would restrict states' ability to impose income tax of people not physically present in that state. Okay, so these convenient rules and similar income sourcing rules not only obligate workers to pay tax to jurisdictions where they did not work, but in many cases they also strip them of eligibility for tax credits. Takeaway: if you work for an employer, have your own business in one state, work in another state, because of COVID-19, document it. Keep track of it. There are 7 states here with the convenience employer rules that basically ignore and basically say this is how you're going to do it. So if you have income in another state, even though you're working, your business is located in a state like Arkansas, then you need to be including, I need to start paying to when I'm traveling, as I did earlier in the year. Okay, now there is a filing, there is a reference guide here, state tax filing guide for guidance on coronavirus. It's updated 9/1. It's by the HiTechCPA. Great little tool, because you can sit in here and you can, let's just say, bring it up in PDF. And one of the things I wanted to know is part year. And I can actually walk through and find part year by state. So I can go through by state here, and it talks to you. Then the other thing I can do is what are the rules for non-resident? Okay, same thing. There was Louisiana. I can go through and literally it'll take me directly to the non-resident status of each state. Great little tool right now that you can go in by state and find out the rules for your state. Okay, so if I wanted to actually go into Arkansas, I would go to Arkansas, and in here I would start looking for, where, number one, where do I go for news releases for anything for Arkansas, anything unique to Arkansas. There's the Arkansas website, and I can scroll down and talk about how each state addresses the performing services outside of your home domiciled business address. Okay, that's what we're looking for. So what you need to be considered, and if you're an employee watching this, employee of your own business, and you're doing or were forced to work business outside of where your physical location was post pandemic, the convenience of employer rules, you need to just be flipping through which state, go to this document, see what the guidance is given for each state, and read it for now, and then look at the reciprocal state. So here is California. How what do they have? It is as far as regarding to the convenience employer, and if you work in states, and if there is a term, if there is a reciprocity, which means you might get a tax credit. That happens in California and Arizona. So I only know that because I had a client that actually had information or an asset, a building. They lived in Arizona, and they had a piece of property, a real estate building in California. Okay, all right. So that is the convenience. This is when you're an individual. This is the state or a business, and you have employees, and you're the employee, and you're actually having that employee or forced due to the pandemic or whatever. This is just normal law. But there might be some relief at the state level by this happening. And like we just saw in that article, there might be something being proposed that might alleviate and basically counteract some of the in between states due to the pandemic. So what I'm going to keep you apprised on is if you travel to different states other than the state where your business is domiciled, your physical address, and you perform services there. Also, what if you perform services to some address that's out of state? Does that apply? But anyway, that is a situation where you're in one state, my home office, my office here in Arkansas, and I perform services in Arizona. Does Arizona get any of the income that I basically provided from my home office, my office studio in Arkansas? Does Arizona get any of that? That's the question. So where are my resources? I go to documents like this. I go to the state and find out how they treat the at least the convenience of employer rule, and then I start looking for and searching for definition of part year resident, non-resident, and see if there's anything, any relief or any law out there that has to do with performing services in other states. Okay, definitely something to look at. And I got one more for you. And here at the end of August, this was an article about California specifically, okay? And here was a plan of how to treat your business. It's guidance on opening your office. Or your small business. So I'm going to take you to this plan. So right here is industry guidance. And again, this is unique. Here it is, industry guidance to reduce risk. California, covid19.ca.gov, and a blueprint for a safer economy. So reopen your business or facility safely. So this is because California is so safe, and they opened up super quick. This had to be developed basically, and it coordinates with the CDC to provide guidance on how to open up. So what I saw was here it is, industry guidance, agriculture, livestock, auto dealerships, and obviously the first one I wanted to go down to is check out restaurants right here. So here is restaurants, wineries, and bars. So they have statuses here, tiered, purple, red, orange, and whether you're a winery, if you're in moderate, indoor with modification capacity limited to 50% or 200 people, whichever is less. Now, what's the penalty for not doing this? I didn't read that far into this. All I know is bottom line is this is out there. There should be similar to something like this for every state. This just happens to be the state of California that will go by description of what business you're in. Public transportation, professional sports without live audiences, may resume training and competition without live audiences, subject to approval by county public health officers. This guide does not apply to semi-professional, amateur, or recreational sports. Well, that means it doesn't apply to anybody at school, in the schools, so in K through 12. So at least unless the guide does not apply, this guidance does not apply, okay? Athletes, coaching staff. So here is a great location, covid19.ca.gov, and you should have this for all in your state. This is specifically unique to California on opening up. So two things today. First of all, I took you to, if you are a commuter and you perform service, and that commuter meaning you're performing or selling goods and services, primarily services, and you have and in your home state where your physical address is, and you perform services in another state, each state has its own rules that if you enter that state, could be by days, just could be by revenue services, but if you're physically there performing those services, each state has rules on how to treat that. I'll give you an example. How do you treat a professional baseball player? It is the number of days that you are physically in that state playing games. That's how professional athletes work, or training. That's how that works. So if you're at a game and you're physically there for so many days, you allocate that as a percent of totally of your income. Same thing if you are performing your like myself, have a business in state of Arkansas and I physically travel to another state, I have to look at those rules for that state to of whether I've got to apportion, if you will, allocate some of the income that I've made in that state to the total income in when I was physically in Arkansas. Okay, so sometimes what this is in with the pandemic is you're going to have situations where you might have to, you received a job in another state to temporarily go there, and where normally you're performing your services in your one state, and next year you might be subject to taxes in more than one state. And what's bringing this up is the pandemic. Being able to go, you can actually perform your services in another state, or you've got a new, a part of your business that you're going to do it in another state where you normally have done it before, or where you're physically located, where you file your tax returns and sales tax and all that stuff. So, point is, if you are performing services, selling goods outside of the state you're domiciled, you might have to share that revenue. Secondly, just want to tip you off to different sites but here at covid19.ca.gov, industry guidance to reduce risk. This industry guidance updated there September 8th is a site that you can go to by industry and look at the guidelines that the state of California, at least California, are proposing for your industry. So you can see right there if you're in compliance and how and why is this important. Some of the questions of the programs from the SBA, like the Paycheck Protection Program and the EIDL loans and other programs that are being offered out there. One of the questions you're certifying is that were you affected by the pandemic? Easy. Go to this website and every day, basically, this is how you were affected. So if you had to go in a restaurant, you're in an area that's blue or red, whatever they're talking about here, and you could only open 25%. Some of the questions that you're being asked is were you, and especially with the new PPP potentially getting voted on and more funds coming out, were you 50% or more were your sales down 50% or more? Well, this is easy to prove, not only by numbers, but also going to a site that says we could only open up 25% anyway. So how could I have, no wonder my revenue has gone down. Again, this is some way that you should be creating your own little diary to support the certifications that you're making for some of the SBA programs and other programs and relief that is come your way, that you've taken advantage of, or that you might take advantage of. So tomorrow is when they're supposed to vote on the Senate for the next stimulus package, whatever that may. Stay tuned. Mike Rasmussen, CPA Straight Talk for Small Business. And you can go to HiTechCPA.com on Facebook and on YouTube if you would subscribe. And then also go to my site, HiTechCPA.com. You can send me a quick email, and what I'll do is take it and talk about content like I did today. Have a great day.